However, Kamala, you've been able to do a phenomenal job at
you.
kind of streamlining this conversation from all of the women that you've kind of been able to impact and even interact with. What has been the overall sentiment of the Boss Mom movement?
I've been getting some really good feedback, and one of the main things I guess I would point out is that ladies say is that they like the confidence that I've instilled, and I honestly feel like that's a huge part of the Boss Mom movement. Even when I just think about it, because you do have to be confident. We have to be confident in ourselves as women. We have to be confident in our abilities as moms. And then, of course, as the bosses in our business and in the industries that we may be working in. And so I'm like, you know what, that is like going to be like my main driver behind it. It's like, be confident and being in who you are and what you say you want to do, because that's going to be your driving force. It's going to help you in those moments where you feel like you can't do it.
Yes.
You can't get up today and take care of the kids because you're feeling whatever way you are about yourself, or you can't get up and go to work or, you know, do something in your business. And so it was just really interesting. It was like, that was like the main thing. Like, I just love your confidence.
Yes.
And it's crazy because I'm a person that battled with confidence.
And so we are back for another amazing episode of Finding Your Niche with Neish. I am your host, Nisha Rogers. And first of all, before we get started, I have to give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode, this amazing brand that has God Empowerment t-shirts called Motivate Her Company, which is what the sweatshirt is that I'm rocking right now, that says minding the business that God assigned me. And when I think about somebody who's on assignment, doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, it's the person that's sitting across from me, who is on the show today to talk about how she found her niche in being a boss mom. So without further ado, Ashlei White, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I'm so excited to talk to you about your company, the Boss Mom Movement, and what you're doing. But before we kind of get into that, I want the viewers to kind of get a little bit more insight and backstory behind who you are as a person. So when somebody asks you, who is Ashlei, what do you say?
So Ashlei is a mother, first and foremost, a daughter, a friend. I'm also a corporate professional and a serial mompreneur. So I work by day 9 to 5 in the investment banking industry within the diversity recruiting space. So that's my love, I would say, as far as my corporate stance, because it means something to me to help people that look like me get jobs, especially in the corporate space.
Yes.
And then as far as serial entrepreneurship, then I do also have a hair company here in Atlanta, Honey Hair Co., that I manage. And I have a travel boutique agency and my newest baby, the Bawsemom Movement.
Yes, I love that. So first of all, okay, so let's get into the HR.
Yes.
Because I think that's important. So that was a mouthful, but I feel like what you do is important for people to know so they can kind of tap in and learn from you about, you know, how they can have appropriate representation and exclusivity, like, I'm sorry, not exclusivity, but inclusion to the workplace.
Right.
And so what is your particular job? When you say that you are that position over HR, what does that actually look like?
So we are the front face of the recruiting process. So I go out and I look for people to specifically fill our open positions. And so what I do is more so passive sourcing. So I'm usually, if you ever on LinkedIn and someone's reaching out to you about a job, like, hey, you look like a good fit, like that's most likely
that's
me
you.
and my
That's
team.
Ashlei.
Yeah.
This whole time is you, Ashlei.
Yes. So I enjoy it though. And because, like I said, it's a space within corporate America for Black and brown people that aren't so welcoming, right? And so people that work in my area, it's like we're helping you get into these spaces that you maybe never saw you could be in, or it's just really difficult for you to get into.
Okay. I love that. And so one thing I really like about your brand and about the messaging is that you don't necessarily discourage women to stop working, but you kind of you kind of like, echo the sentiment and the message of the fact that you can still be empowered, you can still be the boss in the midst of you working and being a mother at the same time. So I want you to take me back to the day. Take me back to the day where you realized, you know what, I think I want to start this Boss Mom movement. And what was that like for you?
So I was like 6 months pregnant. So let me go back a little bit, even to me finding out I was pregnant, because this is kind of like the jump start to it all. I was honestly devastated and happy.
I'm glad you're saying that, because that's another question I was going to ask you, was like, okay, so then let's backtrack then. Because I was going to ask you that. I was going to tell you to take me back to the day where you realize you take the pregnancy test or whatever the situation may be, and you realize like, oh my God, I'm with child.
Yeah. Like I said, I was devastated. I cried. I was actually getting the day that I found out I was supposed to be getting my lashes done by my best friend. And so when I went into her suite, I just cried. I'm like, I'm pregnant, because not that I wasn't excited about being a mom, because growing up, as most little girls, we want to be moms, right? We want to have the family. But I was, well, number one, the world, we were coming out of the pandemic, so to speak, and I had lost my job in the pandemic, which was my first job into HR that I had worked so hard to get, coming from a different industry. So I'm like, I've made it to HR just for me to lose my job 10 months later.
Yeah.
But 5 or 6 months later, now I'm pregnant and I'm trying to get back into the industry. And so I was just thinking about my career and the transition and all of that. And, most women, especially in corporate, you fear starting your family because it kind of gets in the way of your career path, right? And so a lot of women are having families later in life because of that. And I was 28, and I was just like, I still want to pursue my professional journey and climb the corporate ladder, so to speak. I don't really anticipate going up too far, but that's another story. But I'm like, I still have goals, and I didn't want to have to dim my light as a woman and as Ashlei with my passions to pursue motherhood. I didn't want to, I'm like, how can I do this and be this amazing mom, right? Because moms get a lot of judgment if you're not the typical mom, like staying at home and, focusing on the kids. And I'm like, how can I do this simultaneously, and be happy and still have balance and things of that nature. And so that was really where the tears, the devastation came from, is just thinking about that. And I'm the type of person, I think so far ahead. Like, my boyfriend's always telling me, like, you got to live in the now, like, because I'm just so, like, I'm already at Z and haven't even, gone through ABC. So I was already thinking about that. That is actually what sparked the interest of the Bawsemom Movement, because I was like, you know what, there are moms, including my own mom, who are doing it. They're successful, they're great moms, and I wanted to highlight their stories. So I actually started the Boss Mom as a podcast to have moms come on and talk about their journeys of, just matriculating through their careers, their businesses, and motherhood, and how they were able to balance it so that it could be really a resource for me as a new mom. And then, of course, other moms, too, that were listening. So I was like 6 months pregnant when I birthed the Boss Mom Movement, honestly.
Wow.
So I wanted to prepare.
Okay, so you're 6 months pregnant. You realize that I want to actually start this movement. I was talking to somebody else earlier about the time frame from when they have an idea to when they actually execute on the idea. What kind of like fear did you overcome with like starting something that was kind of, because you're one of the only few people that I know that have this kind of narrative. And so I think it's dope, especially like in the Atlanta space. Like, what you're doing is incredible. So what did you have to overcome in order to kind of like, okay, this is the message that I want to pursue, and I'm going to kind of go forward and kind of, spearhead this whole initiative?
My initial fear was, I'm not even a mom yet. Like, that was literally what I kept telling myself. I'm like, people are going to listen to this or look at this like, you're not even a mom. Like, you're still pregnant. And, like, I was telling my mom that. I was telling my boyfriend, I'm like, I don't want other people to, like, look at it because it's like you haven't really gotten into it yet. And they were like, so? Like, just do it. Which, I can have a lot of great ideas. And executing on them, I'll talk myself out of it because I'm like, fear that it won't go well, you know? And that it's like, okay, it's just a dream because it's really not going to pick up. And so that was kind of just me getting in my own way and kind of just putting these negative thoughts. Like, it's just like, when when Mother's Day comes up and ladies are pregnant, they're like, I don't know if I should celebrate because I haven't had the baby yet. Like, that's kind of how I
remember
was
feeling that way. It's just a weird position to be in because it's like I'm pregnant, but I'm not like technically a mom yet, so I don't know if I can fully occupy the space with enough credibility to like have some legs to stand on as somebody that's an authoritative figure, right, in this particular industry. However, Kamala, you've been able to do a phenomenal job at kind of streamlining this conversation from all of the women that you've kind of been able to impact and even interact with. What has been the overall sentiment of the Bawsemom movement?
I've been getting some really good feedback, and one of the main things I guess I would point out is that ladies say is that they like the confidence that I've instilled, and I honestly feel like that's a huge part of the Bawsemom movement. Even when I just think about it, because you do have to be confident. We have to be confident in ourselves as women. We have to be confident in our abilities as moms. And then, of course, as the bosses in our business and in the industries that we may be working in. And so I'm like, you know what? That is like going to be like my main driver behind it. It's like, be confident and being in who you are and what you say you want to do, because that's going to be your driving force. It's going to help you in those moments where you feel like you can't do it. You can't get up today and take care of the kids because you're feeling whatever way you are about yourself, or you can't get up and go to work or, do something in your business. And so it was just really interesting. It was like, that was like the main thing. Like, I just love your confidence. And it's crazy because I'm a person that battled with confidence. So,
really?
Yeah, like literally probably just now getting over it. Like I always tell people, it's like my son was like my push to really get over that hump and be confident.
What aspect of confidence were you like, the weakest in? What do you mean?
So from physical to just my abilities in my profession. Like I felt like even before I transitioned to HR that I was like overlooked for opportunities in my professional career. And it was almost like I felt like I had to work harder to show up and show out. And so it was just things like from growing up that I just felt like I never really got over. And so then it carried over into womanhood, and I didn't want it to carry over into motherhood.
Yes.
So
I want to unpack the physical for a little, because I feel like a lot of women are like, when you say you've had a son, you've had a child, it's like, where? Yeah. I'm looking at you. Where?
Right.
And so I want you to kind of unpack that a little bit, because I think something that's like commonly misconstrued is, societal norms have put in front of people that like if you're thin, you're beautiful. And so for the fact that to tell me that you've struggled with some, insecurities when it comes to building up your confidence in the physical realm, talk to me a little bit about what you mean by that.
So like you said, I've always been small, and that was not necessarily a good thing for me. I know, some people are like, yeah, I want to be smaller and stuff, but I always felt I was too small. I feel like there's a such thing as that. And so I've always played sports up until college, cheering, running track. So it's just like, you've always been this thin girl. My parents were thin, and it's just our makeup. But I never wanted to be thin. Not as thin as I am anyway.
Yeah.
And so that was just always a struggle for me. And then after I had my son, I got even smaller.
Really?
So I lost a lot of weight. I dropped maybe about 12 to 15 pounds than what I was going into pregnancy.
And if you're already small, that's drastic.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So I know a lot of women worry about gaining the weight.
Yeah.
And I was actually excited about that. I had put on weight when I got pregnant, and I was like, oh, I think I was pushing 151. I'm like, oh, I'm going to look good after I drop this baby. And then I dropped the weight, too. Drop the baby, drop the weight.
Wow.
Yep.
Dang.
So, and and I still because I'm still small. And my son will be 2 in July. Wow. And I'm still trying to even get up to the weight that I was when I got pregnant with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that's a really interesting perspective because I don't think a lot of women, and that's the thing, like especially when you become a mom, I think one of the biggest factors and one of the biggest variables that you kind of have to come to terms with is what it does physically to your body. Like I still have a fupa, so I'm trying to get rid of my fupa. Like my daughter's 8, I don't have an excuse. I need to work out. Like, that's it. I just need to be in somebody's gym. But I think that's a big conversation, right? Because, like, it's weird. I wouldn't say weird, but it's just an interesting position to be in because here you are, a human, growing a human inside of you. It's extremely remarkable. It's it's a superpower, basically. Let's just call it what it is.
It is.
It's a superpower. Okay, and so you're growing a human inside of you, and that does something to your body, like so many different things. And then when you have those physical aspects, I think that kind of transcends into your professional life, to your work life, to your entrepreneur life. So what kind of words of encouragement would you give to women who are kind of feeling that juxtaposition of being so excited to like have this new person in their life, but also have the byproduct of having, given birth and the level of pregnancy and stuff like that and what it does to you physically?
Accept your imperfections. And I say imperfections because we look at it as, oh, I'm not perfect. I don't look like this. In actuality, it's like, accept it. This is the new you, maybe walk in it, embrace it, and figure out ways to turn it around. And I just look at it trying to make it a positive. Like I've gotten a gym membership. Like my boyfriend said, he's like, you need to get in the gym. Like you're complaining about it. Like, like you can do something about it. And, I was just putting it off for the longest. And it's like when we met, I was in the gym heavy. And then pandemic came, moved and all this stuff. And I was just like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. But in actuality, like I can't control it. I can do things to put more weight on. My mom was telling me the other day, you need to drink Ensures. Like they gave that to my grandma when she lost a lot of weight. Yeah. And I used to drink them when I was younger and I hate them. But like these are things, it's like you can do things to change it, but you can also accept it, right? And I can love myself because I'm still me. The core of me is still the same, It's just that physical attribute that I don't necessarily like, and someone else may say, girl, I wish I looked like that, but it's just like, how do you feel about you? You have to learn to accept it and really learn to love who you are, inside and out.
I love that. I was trying to say, I'm just going to edit. I was trying to say, like, don't forget the guy that's coming in the front for the food.
Yeah, oh, no, all right. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm like, I don't want you to miss him because it's like Uber Eats, so, like, don't miss him.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Hey, guys, edit this.
Yeah, I'm going to edit that part out. Okay, so one of the other things that I want to ask you, because that's so good, like what you're saying, when it comes to actually pursuing two things, right? You want to obviously set out to be a really good mother, but then you also want to set out to be a boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, talk to me about this balance, because there's a lot of commentary when it comes to mom guilt.
Yes.
With like feeling like you have to choose.
Right.
Between, being this like A+ stellar mom, but then also killing it like in your industry and at work.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you have been able to kind of like understand the level of balance that it takes to be a boss and to be a mom.
Yeah. It's been a journey, and honestly, it's a continuous journey, I would say. But one thing that I have found and that I like to point out is that I don't like to refer to it as balance, because to me, and I mean definition-wise, balance means it's the same, same level. And the reality is it's not going to be. So I look at it as being structured. There's different things that you have to take into account. You need to be intentional with your time, defining the season that you are in your life. Like I said, accepting those imperfections and learning to ask for help. Like these are different things. When I think about my format of structure and something that I showcase to my community is look at these things in your life. Like last year, I went through a time, I like to call it my grind season, because I got a promotion at work. That was like a 6 to 7 month period that I had to follow certain steps and guidelines provided by my boss, my leadership team, in order to get the promotion, right? And so I knew that there were certain things I needed to do at work and how I needed to show up well, then that then resulted to me asking for help.
Yes.
Because the thing about being a mom, and honestly the thing about being a Black woman, is that we are super women, right? We handle it all. We wear these capes. We wear all these hats. And it's really hard to ask for help because you want to be able to do everything. And, 9 times out of 10, we can, right? But
yeah, period.
it's like those boundaries. You have to learn to say no.
Yep.
Or I can't handle this. Even though I want to, I can't. And that was one of my big things, is like just even telling somebody, hey, I don't have it, And so that's why.
And when you say I don't have it, you mean you don't have the capacity.
I don't have the capacity.
Yes, that's new for me. Is I don't have the capacity. Like, I think that's just so huge, because that's kind of the season that I'm in. Like we talked about a little bit off camera, some of the stuff that we have going on and just the momentum picking up. And
Exactly.
It's just like all of these opportunities, all of these things are presented before us, and they all are like incredible opportunities. And,
Right.
But at the same time, you have to look at what is within your willpower.
Exactly.
To be able to still occupy these spaces and tap into these opportunities with a high level of execution.
Exactly.
And so that has been like something that's been very difficult for me. Is like, I really want to do this, but I don't have the capacity.
Right.
And so just dealing with the fact that, the scarcity mindset, right? Feeling like you don't want to pass up these opportunities because they may not come back.
Right.
And so how have you been able to kind of navigate that space of like learning how to say no?
Yeah.
And then that being the complete sentence.
It's hard. Especially when you're in, I feel like especially when you're in that building phase, which is where I am. So I'll say I was last year more so building in my 9-to-5 career, and now that has transitioned, right? And that's why I like to say, look at the seasons in your life.
Yeah.
Because I birthed the Bawsemom Movement, the year prior. Look, I'm like all over the place with the years ever since the pandemic. But before that, it was like, okay, getting the Bawsemom Movement, but then it was like, okay, I got a new job and I want to go up another level, right? And so I was focused on that. And really it comes down to prioritizing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to even look at the season of your life, because then you can prioritize whatever goals you have in front of you, whether it's that 3 months, 6 months, or for that year,
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's how you can determine what you're saying no to and what boundaries you're being able to set for yourself and for others. Because when I tell people, I'm setting boundaries, I say, and it's not just with other people, it's with me too, right? And so even drilling down to your niche,
Yep.
that helps when you say no to things.
It does.
It's like, okay, this is not, these are my goals right now, and that just doesn't fall in line with what I have right now, and I think that can help you learn to say no in certain situations once you realize where you are with things. But no, that's big for me too, like saying no, because I want to say yes to everything, and I can do it, right? I feel like I can do it.
Yeah,
and then when I try to
like
do it,
it's
I'm like,
possible,
I really can't, right?
There's a verse, and I try to like bring myself back, because I'm a Christian, so I try to bring myself back to some of the foundations that I like with Scripture. And there's a verse in the Bible that says everything is permissible but not beneficial. And I think that's so true, because I feel like just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Exactly.
And so I'm learning how to kind of find the moments in these opportunities where God whispers to me, like, Nisha, say yes.
Yeah.
Nisha, say no. Like, just because it's in front of you does not mean that you should, tap into it. Like, that kind of thing will come back around full circle. So, like, learning that and honing that in, I think takes, like, I don't know, it's easier said than done.
No, it really is.
Right? Because when you get these phone calls and you get, like, these opportunities to be in the same room and affiliated and even in the sphere of influence with some of the people, because, it's Atlanta. It's a lot of, it's like...
The happenings. It's happening, right?
Like, it's like a ton of happenings in Atlanta. So I think, like, there's a lot of moments where you're like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. But you might necessarily not be able to do that. What would you say for you is your favorite part about being a boss mom?
The impact to other moms. And that's like a passion point for me, which is why it's so important that I'm aligned within my 9-to-5, but then also my businesses, because both of them involve me being impactful in other people's lives. And for the longest, it took me a long time to honestly even figure out what I wanted to do career-wise until I stepped into diversity, because I just felt like, I'm like, man, I don't know if anything is for me at this point with, because the money has to match too, because we have to make a good living.
That part.
And then so just thinking, like, what is it that drives me? And it's being able to impact others. Like, I studied psychology. I once thought I wanted to be a therapist, but then God said, okay, maybe not. Or maybe that was me saying maybe not, but I feel like we were on the same page about it. But, it was like, okay, what else can you do that's still impacting those, other people's lives? And then I ended up walking into HR, which I actually fought because my parents were in HR. I'm like, I don't want to walk the same path. I want to do my own thing just for me to come back to it. So it's like being able to have a job and also build a business that allows me to be impactful to people is just really rewarding, honestly. So that's the driver.
I think another part of like your messaging, and when I think about the Bawsemom Movement, something that you guys kind of like, the narrative throughout that organization is that you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Right? You can work a 9-to-5 and still consider yourself a boss. Talk to me a little bit about the inception of that, because I feel like a lot of people, especially here in Atlanta, I feel like it's bleeding out into other cities, obviously, where Black people are realizing that they want ownership and that they want to start their own businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But talk to me about why that narrative has been such a big part of the messaging with being a boss mom.
Well, for one, like what you just said, I feel like entrepreneurship is kind of like being pushed down everybody's throat now.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it's a bad thing to be an owner of anything. I definitely think it's a good thing. But I also feel like there's people that are thriving in their 9-to-5s as well. And I don't want to discount that because I'm also one of those people. And I even just look at my mom. She has had businesses, but she thrived. She's now retired, but she thrived in her career working in HR and climbing the ladder. And so there are so many women that are doing these great things in their 9-to-5s, and it should be highlighted. It should be celebrated, because I'm not going to say most, but a lot of women that are thriving, they're in male-dominated spaces, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to show up every day and do what they're doing and being confident in it when they're consistently being almost in a sense like pushed out, because it's not really a space created for them. And so I didn't want to, number one, I'm personally not a full-time entrepreneur, so I didn't want to surround it around that, but be inclusive, right? And say, hey, it doesn't matter what path you're walking, if you're a mompreneur, if you're a mom in corporate America or just working a 9-to-5, celebrate you. Because we need people to do both, right? We need entrepreneurs. We need people working for other people, essentially. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel bad because you're not an entrepreneur. If you want to be one, great. But don't feel bad about it. And if you do have aspirations of climbing the corporate ladder or climbing the ladder, if you're, in education or wherever you are and that's your goal, why not?
Yeah.
So I want to celebrate both and know that you're doing great. You are a boss still. Like, I'm a leader on my team, and like I said, I don't necessarily want to be like the CEO or anything like that, but there are different leadership levels that I can obtain in my job, and I've already obtained one. So, and I'm a mom. So I want to celebrate, women like me. Like, so we're going to include both spaces, and I think it's okay to do that.
I love the inclusivity message. I think one of the other things when I think about being a boss mom, I think about the variables of being a mom. So I want to talk to you about, the message that you would have, or the words of encouragement that you would have to women who feel, I don't really know what the word would be, but they start off being a mom, they start off being in love with somebody. Maybe it's different for every woman, but like necessarily raising a child that you are no longer with the father of that child. So then you realize, like, okay, now I have to be a mom in a different capacity than I maybe originally envisioned. I want you to talk to women about that. If they find themselves in this space where maybe they're a single mom, or maybe they're a mom now with a new person who's not the child's father, maybe they're maybe they have a stepfather, and just kind of the messaging behind still being able to feel like you're confident in your motherhood in the face of you maybe feeling like you quote unquote failed because your child is not being raised with both parents.
Yeah. No, that's good. I would say, number one, look at your strength, right? Because that takes strength. If you had to walk away from a situation that you were so used to, you were comfortable in, to make a better life for you and your kid or children, and use that, as motivation to continue pushing forward. And I would also say, because I'm starting my coaching business for moms, and one of my clients, she's a single mom, and she told me like she felt like she was just working to collect a paycheck to take care of her daughter, and there was like no passion. She actually had lost the passion behind her career because she actually did like doing what she works in social work. She did like it and lost that confidence. And I was like, you have to regain that. We need to go back and figure out where you lost it. Because I don't feel anyone, honestly, now that I have gotten a job that I actually like and that respects me as a mom, number one, we don't have to just work a job to collect a paycheck. We can have some passion behind it and actually like doing what we do. But you have that strength to even still get up and work, right? So that you can make a living for you and your daughter. And this is just generalized. I just brought her up because she is a single mom that kind of lost that. But it's like that strength to even continue to prevail. Like that, you should definitely look at that, because if you're walking away from a marriage or even just being a single mom, I was raised by a single mom. I mean, I have both of my parents, but I primarily lived with my mom. And she was doing what she had to do, and she was strong. And so I used to just tell her, like, make sure you look at that and accept, like, this is the life right now for the moment, because it's momentary. Like, you can find someone else. Like you said, if you have a stepfather come in, you can find someone else, but look within and just look at that strength. Look at that strength that you have to even do what you did. Because I know that takes a lot, and I'm not in that situation, so I can't honestly like relate to it. But just even looking at the single moms and knowing that I was raised by a single mom, and just looking at how much they put on their backs, to even keep going, even on the days that they don't want to. And we talk about capacity, and they may not have the mental or physical capacity to do it, but they're still doing it. So I would definitely just highlight that if you are going through that situation. It's just like, look at your strength. Use it as your motivation to keep going. And use your babies, because I know sometimes I'm like, some days I'm just like, ooh, child. I just look at his face and I'm like, you know what? It's for you.
Second win.
It's for you. Like, we gonna make it work. But yeah.
I think one of the interesting things about parenting is it's really, it's an experiment.
Yes.
I say, like, parenting to me is a learn as you go process. And so sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that your son has taught you about being a mom?
Be happy. Because my baby is so happy. Like, even when I'm not, and he done did something to piss me off for that moment, he's still, ma, with this big smile on his face. And, he can really lighten the room. And so I feel like that's, kids, they live life without a care anyway, because they're so innocent. But it's just, he really teaches you, it's just like, enjoy the moment, enjoy life, be happy, with whatever you've been blessed with. And so I would honestly probably say that, because even just thinking when you asked me that, I literally, his face just popped up in my mind.
And I got goosebumps when you said be happy. I'm like, oh God, I got goosebumps, because I agree. Like, kids have this ability to kind of like, I don't know, just own the space of pure joy. And like, they just occupy that space.
They do.
Of like just being balls of like joy and love and everything good, everything God. And so that totally resonates with me, with my daughter, when I think about her, and the biggest lesson that she may have taught me is the same. Yeah. Just be happy and to enjoy the moment and to relax.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Even when they jumping off whatever, about to hurt themselves, like, it's fine, Mom, I'm okay.
It's fine.
I'm
good.
Right.
Everything is good. This is my life motto.
Exactly.
Okay, so what would you say as your son continues to grow older? What is your greatest hope for him as a mom?
I think I would say to be proud of me. Well, I find myself getting emotional with this question, but
It's okay.
so really is to be proud, because when I think about the things that I'm doing in life, I do it for me. You know, like I said, it's the passion projects and a lot of things that I do, but I'm also doing it for him and any kid I have after him, is because I want them to have good lives. And so, but I also want them to know, like, not only me, but their dad too, like, we're happy. We fulfilled our duties, you know, because everyone has a purpose, you know, and we're Christian as well. And so I feel like God instilled specific purposes in us, and I want to make sure that I'm living that. And so that's something I want to instill in my kids as well, is like, live in your purpose, be true to who you are. And so I would definitely say, I would want him to say, I'm proud of my mom, you know.
That's good. I was having a conversation with somebody on this podcast with another woman who's just like killing it. Like, it's unreal. And she poured in words of encouragement to me, and she's like, you know, moms, we go through all this stuff, and we like, are we doing enough? Are we showing up like for our kids? Are we showing up for ourselves? All this other stuff. And she helped me to realize, and what she told me was, your kids are not mad at you.
Yeah.
Like, they're not mad at you. They're not mad at you, like, for pursuing these things and for going after these things. And we, like, create this story in our minds that they are upset with us, you know? And so if you give your children enough doses of love that they need, and it's not a lot. When I come down and think about it, when I take these, like, couple 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes here with my daughter and just give her undivided attention, it's enough for her. And she's not mad at me. She's not mad at me for trying to pursue this dream of, you know, being a master interviewer and having these podcasts and working full time as a producer and create, like, all this stuff that I'm doing.
Right.
And I go home and she's the same.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't change.
Right.
Like, she's the same yesterday and the day before.
Yeah.
And so realizing and getting other women to kind of realize the message that our kids are not mad at us. They're not mad at us for pursuing our dreams.
And that's that mom guilt.
Yep.
That we were talking about. It's like that narrative we create in our own minds. Like, okay, I miss this game. And granted, you know, my son is just now will be 2, and we haven't gotten to that point yet. But I'm already thinking about those things. Like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm going to be available, because that's the flexibility I want to have, which is why I say I'm not here just to, you know, at my job to collect a paycheck. I want to be with a company that respects the fact that I am a mom.
Yeah.
And I have that flexibility because I work remotely, which is, I will probably never go back to the office, if Lord willing. But because that flexibility is important to me, and I want to be able to enjoy those moments and be intentional with that time that I have with my family. And even though, excuse me, it's hard sometimes because I am a workaholic, like I'm trying to get away from that. And I was like that before I got into motherhood. And so just adding that other hat, right? It's like, okay, how am I going to do this? But, you know, it's just like, they're not mad. Like you said, it's like, I am preparing for those times where I can be there for my child when he is experiencing these happy times and moments of his life, and not working on something, but also understanding if those times do arise where I have to go to work or do something in the business, like, I have showed that love to him so much that it wouldn't impact, you know, how he feels
his
about
tank
me.
is filled.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so as we get ready to close, I want to ask you, what is your definition of a boss mom?
The definition of a boss mom for me is honestly killing it in your business and your career and killing motherhood at the same time. Letting go of that mom guilt and being okay with balancing your personal and professional goals with motherhood. So I look at boss mom, you would be a boss mom, you know, doing it like you doing it because I'm watching what you got going on too. But it's like you have found your passion and purpose, and you're doing it. You're fulfilling your dreams, because one thing about being a boss mom is we're keeping our identities as women and what matters to us, but also killing motherhood at the same time.
Yeah.
We're giving our kids the love that they need. We're not neglecting them, but we're also loving ourselves and keeping whole what matters to us as well.
I love that. And any words of encouragement to somebody or a woman who finds herself as a new mom, or maybe just learning, she just took the test yesterday and found out, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
but I also just got this incredible opportunity for a career. What words of encouragement would you have to that person, to that woman that feels like she's in a space where she can't operate fully in both?
Okay. Yeah. So I would say, it's going back to that season, right? Defining that season. Whatever this new opportunity that you have, make sure it aligns with the type of mom you want to be. And I say that because I didn't think about that prior to motherhood, even getting my job, or previous to the job I have now. I was more so just concerned, okay, is it going to be good money? Is it going to allow me to, live this travel life that I wanted to live? I didn't consider, okay, what happens when you want to become a mom? Looking at the benefits, because we want to look at those, and the flexibility. So if it is a great opportunity that aligned with who you were as a woman prior to being a mom, reevaluate. Does it align with you as a mom? Because you're entering a whole different space, as a new mom. I didn't know, you kind of know what to expect, but you don't really know until you get into it.
Yeah.
So really just thinking about the kind of mom you want to be and making sure that new opportunity or that new business venture aligns with it. That honestly would be the advice that I have.
Yeah. The advice that I have is, if you don't know what you need to do and you're trying to figure out how to join a community where there's a couple women who kind of know how to occupy this space of being a boss and being a mom at the same time, I would highly encourage you all to join the Bawsemom Movement. And if they want to do that, can you tell them how they can?
Yeah, so you can follow us at the Bawsemom Movement on Instagram, and it's Boss, Bawse. And you can also join our text community. There's information on there about doing that. You can subscribe to the email list. You can also find us on Facebook as well. But definitely follow us and subscribe, because we will be having a lot of events coming up that are new, but also
I need to be at one of
previous
these events.
Yes, the Mommy Mixer. We're going to do it again. And I actually partner with my business partner, Paisley. She is the founder of the Mommies with Motivation. But we partnered to have Mommy Mixers just to get out, enjoy time, network, have a couple sips to drink. But definitely follow us so you can keep up with the movement.
I love it. Well, you're a boss mom, girl.
Thanks.
Keep
you
at
too.
it.
You too.
All right, y'all tap into what she's got going on. So, yeah.